Hello, friends. Welcome to another edition of Love Wrestling Reacts immediately following the season finale, the conclusion, the final episode of MLW Fusion of the season. I am joined by someone who I was lucky enough to be joined last week, someone I consider a friend, and a guy that, maybe I made a bit of a faux pas last week with on who was being addressed in the chat there, but that is what it is. John, it's good to see you. Of course, John of Wrestling Plug Inc. Make sure you give them some support on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, pretty well anywhere that social medias are done, I suppose is the best way to put it. It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you in the comments as well. Ed, thank you once again for joining us on Love Wrestling Reacts. John, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you after what was a stellar season finale, I think, of MLW Fusion.
Oh, I agree. A little bit under the weather this week, but like I couldn't miss it. Got to play them games. What do they say when it's game time? Something.
Make that bank. I think the kids are saying. I can't keep up with it anymore.
Or play her.
Yeah,
I don't know. But we had Myron Reed and Leo Rush too, and I couldn't miss that. And,
right.
The stellar. I mean, there was no piss throwing this week, but we made do. We made do.
No proverbial pee break on this one. Of course, if you guys are in the chat, whether you're watching on Twitch, Facebook Live, or YouTube, let us know your thoughts on MLW Fusion. Of course, we're going to try and keep concise. I know, like many individuals out there, we want to get to some blood and guts tonight. But after tonight, there's a lot that we've got to touch on. Before we do that, though, I want to draw some attention to the sponsored logo that you see right. Oh, damn it, I thought I had it. In this corner. One day, John, I'm just going to put on the corners of my computer, point this way for bottom right. But in the bottom left of the screen there, you guys will see the logo for RK Athletics. Of course, you guys can give them a follow on Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram as well at RK Athletics 1. If you want to get back into physical fitness, I know that everybody's in the process of getting vaccinated. Things are actually starting to return to that proverbial normal. So you want to look your best, you want to feel your best, and Rich is a great individual to help you do so. Whether you're based in Edmonton, you can get there and get some one-on-one physical training action, or if you want to get some stuff done online, you want to do it from the comfort of your own home, he can help you either way. Of course, that is Rich King at RK Athletics. Head to RK Athletics 1 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now that is taken care of, we've done right by the people who are doing right by us. Let's chat wrestling. And of course, as we usually do, we'll start at the start, but we'll go anywhere that the chat decides to take us. We kick tonight off with, of course, your controversial. I was trying to find a word that wasn't cliche, but a controversial AAA Cruiserweight champion, using the air quotes there, the Laredo Kid wrestling Gringo Loco. Of course, I can't speak well enough to all of the stuff that went down with the Cruiserweight Championship. Like, Leo Rush won it about a month ago, and then they tried to pivot and say that he didn't lose it. And then if I remember correctly, it was Conan or someone affiliated with him that had basically said Leo Rush lost it back to Laredo Kid on a house show or something along those lines. Again, I'm doing a bit of a disservice on something that maybe has a little bit of nuance to it, but that's neither here nor there. He wrestled Gringo Loco in the night's opening match. Laredo Kid winning it with a one-man Spanish fly. Solid opener. I quite like the two guys. I admittedly was not all that familiar with Gringo Loco's work before he joined MLW. I know he's done stuff in AAA in the past. I really don't know if these guys have wrestled before, but all of the, and I say this as ignorantly as someone who's never wrestled before, all of the stuff that looks tough, all of the very Lucha Libre based stuff looked really, really good. Really, really good. I really appreciate these two guys' talent. Laredo Kid's an absolute stud. I'll watch him wrestle anytime, any place, anywhere. But your thoughts? What did you think of the night's opening contest?
What did you call the finisher? What is that called?
A one-man Spanish fly, I believe it was called. But I saw that. I was keeping track of the comments there throughout this, and I don't know if you saw them as well, because I saw you pop up a couple of times, but Nick Gage was in the comments for the first 15 minutes of the show talking about how he needed a hardcore match at the ECW arena, and I got all the time in the world for that.
You can't go to
why
the
not?
ECW arena and not be a little hardcore.
I was just going to say Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the reason I asked about because I was I called it the Huggy Flip Splash. I was like, what is that? Whoa, that was kind of cool. And then in the moment,
two very different takes on the name.
For those that are familiarizing themselves with me as I do more of these, I tell you guys in the moment what I thought, and I was like, I had like a brain fart. I was like, I don't know what that Huggy move is, but it was kind of cool. Yeah, they did a good job putting over why Laredo Kid was there. They made it sound like he wanted to be there, which, in my opinion, I thought there was going to be more involvement with him because they were like he wanted to be on the show with Leo Rush because of the controversy with the AAA title, but then they didn't really do anything else with it. So, I mean, it was an opener. Was it the greatest opener I've ever seen? No, but it was solid for what it was. I can't complain. Gringo Loco, he's been an MLW staple for quite some time, and he's a good hand. I don't know if that's
I think it was
solid or not, but
I really don't know anymore because I always thought, and again, the ignorance of not ever having wrestled is the 170-pound kid you see in front of you. I don't know if it's an insult or not. We don't mean that as an insult.
Yeah,
if you're ever watching this, Mr. Gringo Loco, sir, we're not slamming.
Yes,
slamming, I think, is again the words that the kids are saying nowadays.
But back to Nick Gage. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't
as always back to Nick Gage.
Why wouldn't you do something with that? You got to do something at the ECW arena. I know that's not generally MLW style, but you have to carve out a little time for some hardcore if you're going to be there.
There are few things in professional wrestling right now that I am more excited for than Nick Gage versus Jon Moxley. Again, I suppose I should say. And after seeing the clip of Jon Moxley for Dark Side of the Ring, I am very excited for Nick Gage on Dark Side of the Ring.
Which I finally watched. You talked about it last week, I think, and I finally watched it. And I was like,
dude, it's so good.
So
good.
I get
so good. They were actually, I think, just on the oral sessions this week. Renee did an interview with them. I guess who was it? I was reading a story. Thank you for tuning into the MLW post show. There was a story. I guess they were going to interview John Danzig, the former owner of CZW, for the thing. And obviously, I don't know very much about the guy outside of he used to own CZW, but I guess he's become a very big Donald Trump supporter over the last little bit. So the producers were 10 minutes late getting to John Danzig's home to do the interview. And I guess that they were quite literally intimidated off of his property. Was the story told on the oral sessions. Man, Renee Young's just great. But let's get back to MLW. We could do a full podcast on that end of things. I'd never thought Nick Gage versus Matt Cardona could be fun. Yeah, I saw that Twitter, not rant, but Nick Gage, the way he tweets it always seems like he's ranting. That's not half. It's another sort of notch on the belt of awesomeness that Nick Gage seems to wear all of the frickin' time. I think it could definitely be interesting. Matt Cardona in a death match is certainly not something that I ever thought would get crossed off the bucket list or the bingo card, I suppose. But to each their own. I would never wrestle a death match, but again, I won't even wrestle a match. Let's get at least back to MLW before.
I have trouble watching death matches at times. I'm like,
I've only ever seen one live, and admittedly, for whatever reason, it made it easier. I don't know how, but having the opportunity to see live that okay, they're actually okay, versus when you just see Britt Baker's face and you're like, oh my god, you can't possibly be okay.
I cringe at the Pete Dunne knuckle finger manipulation thing. So yeah, wrestling in a death match, I don't know how much it would take.
Real neat spot. Let's transition again, though, a little bit back on the MLW side. I'm sure we'll go off the rails a little bit. We tend to do that every so often, but it's a loose conversation. It's a loose MLW recap. As long as, again, we check off our bingo card by the end of the night, we are covered off, and, of course, some big stuff coming up. What I wanted to touch on very, very quickly, because I thought it was interesting that you never saw either member of them tonight, was how understated Contra's stuff was during Hammerstone's promo. I thought it really, really sold, and I thought it was a solid promo by Hammerstone, but I feel like I could say that every week at this point. He's gotten really, really, really good at them. Like I admittedly used to think he wasn't very good at it. Like the Dynasty did a great job. Obviously, here Richard Holiday and MJF chat in the early days of the Dynasty, and like,
But I mean,
just at that point, and that's exactly it. Is like you've got to A, consider the two talents that those guys are, but B, like just how much of a testament that is to Hammerstone that like he's in the class with those guys right now. Either way, I thought it was kind of interesting again how understated like the little tape flashes and the Contra logo was, just on the basis that it again really sold like that Contra is scared of Alex Hammerstone line that he's want to flourish right now, and rightfully so. Again, it's only a little quick video clip, but I think it plays really, really well into that sort of stuff where pretty well week after week you see Sam Ayo interrupt, cut a long, great, intimidating promo, and that's his spot. You never saw either of those guys tonight, and I thought that was a nice touch, whether intentional or not.
I think it plays really well that Samael's not there, because then it's almost a layup that they would attack Hammerstone and kind of, but he has the option to be like, well, you guys aren't here. I'm here. You're afraid of me. So now it's putting it in our minds going, they might be actually afraid of this guy, and here's a legitimate contender to take the belt off of Fatu. Because they've
done an incredible job.
Yeah, I mean, they've played it up so perfect. And admittedly, I tweeted earlier, I popped when he said shit. I still pop when people say shit on wrestling television.
Well, you know what? Yeah,
but I was like,
when cursing is done well, it's like anything. You know what? Like you can't oversaturate anything with anything. As dumb as I sound saying that, I'm well aware that I sound dumb saying that. But like, you know, if you were to do 15 death matches, or if there was a death match every week in WWE, it'd get boring. If there was a Hell in a Cell match every month, you know, I even think obviously people have made the statement that Hell in a Cell is oversaturated because it's coming once a year on an annual basis.
Yeah. And there's like three of them.
Right? Like if you under curse, I guess, it really makes it impactful when you do. So like when Vince McMahon comes out on WWE and says, "You son of a bitch," it's great because you don't ever hear. Well, now you're starting to. That was a bad example. That's why we should get back to the MLW side of things. I popped too, though. That's the overarching point of that.
I guess my overarching point of the Hammerstone promo is they're playing it up really well. It means more that, and it means more. I guess it would be one of the underlining things of the COVID era is that they can't always be together at the same time, because like I said, it does create lazy booking to have to, well, we can just attack him. He's in the building. So they have to get creative. And
they beat him up backstage.
Yeah, they beat him up backstage, but it's like, okay, but now, you know, Hammerstone gets that little wrinkle, that little rub where it's like, you guys are afraid of me. And rightfully so, that dude is jacked. I'm afraid of him just watching him on my TV screen.
That guy could fist fight a brick and win.
Yeah.
Like, I don't...
Dead in one punch. That'd be me. I'd be like, oh, it's game over. I don't want that.
Horrifying dude in all of the right ways in professional.
My question to you, though, is do they give him both titles? Do they two-strap Hammerstone? Because I don't know if anybody's taken that, I want to say middleweight title off of him anytime soon either.
National Openweight Championship.
National Openweight. I apologize.
No, like admittedly, it took when I was getting back into MLW, it was confusing for me too, because they're not like. I think championships should be named for a weight class more often, or you know, given more official titles sometimes. I understand where like the U.S. title comes from and the Intercontinental Championship, but like I don't like location-based championships because those can get extrapolated. Whereas like I like that you've got the middleweight title in MLW because you know who's going to be competing for that. You know, especially in MLW's like real sports presentation. I'll always put in air quotes just because it's professional wrestling. But the way that they present themselves as that real sports alternative to sports entertainment is maybe a better way to put it.
Damn it.
I think it serves it very, very well, but it was, again, confusing for me. That's, again, the overarching point. A couple of quick things that I wanted to touch on. The Von Erichs cut a promo. It went about speaking on how they went 1 for 2 last week. It was what it was. They did another promo from Hawaii. It was good. I quite like the Von Erich boys. Good dudes. The only redeeming quality about Ted Nugent is that he wrote Stranglehold. Stranglehold's a killer song. And that's the only credit I'll give Ted Nugent at this point in time. Cat Scratch Fever is not even very good, if we can get real here.
Hot takes. Hot takes.
It's not, and maybe I only say that because I at this point think Pantera did it better.
Press F in the comments for Cat Scratch Fever. I'm just kidding.
Press 3 for a curated playlist of top 40 hits. That's one thing that's both the most frustrating and the greatest thing ever is, like, I don't know when the last time you made a phone call to a business was, because I try not to as often as possible use the chat feature. But a lot of them now have like a hi, I'm Jim. I'm the owner of 123 Bank. Pick my playlist of top 40 hits while you wait on hold for 40 minutes, which is weird.
I'm still old school. I like to make the phone calls, but I get super annoyed real quick with it. I got to learn how to use technology, man, because, yeah, I feel you.
I just get frustrated, but you get more discounts when you actually call. There's a fun tip for you guys. If you call and tell them you're not mad, you're disappointed. It still works. It's not just a thing that you can do to kids. It's something you can do to anybody if they have any stake in the game. Alicia too with a few big announcements. There were a couple of big things in this show, so let's maybe break her up here around the 20-minute part of the MLW Fusion season finale of Love Wrestling Reacts. Lots of cool stuff. The thing I'm most excited for, though, as I'm sure you are too, MLW announcing an open draft. I'm very excited by this concept because I know you and I have had the conversation a couple of brief times, as I'm sure you and I do about everything in pro wrestling, on how the WWE and wrestling as a whole, over the last little bit, their drafts have been very
hard to follow.
Well, no, you're not wrong there. Like I've always seen the draft as an opportunity to, like, okay, this is the be a GM in me, but like anytime I play like a sports video game, I always will play the be a GM mode, because not only do you get to go through and like kick people's ass as the Edmonton Oilers in NHL, but you get to like make the trades and sign the contracts and all. Like, it's gonna sound odd, but like the paperwork side of things. So one of my favorite things about those and sports in general are like the draft formats and breaking down the trades around them and why they were made and why these person are going to the team that they are. And WWE's done a very, very bad job, I think, just to be blunt with it, of doing the sports side of it.
Yeah.
Right. Entertainment side, cool. Like, I'm not saying they're bad drafts. It's frustrating that the sports side of it that can be played up so much with something like this doesn't happen. I love the fact that MLW is already announcing they're going out, they're scouting people. I love the fact that I think that they're going to play into, again, like the real draft format, why this person was signed to MLW, play up to that, not just, hey, it's Roman Reigns, and we drafted him first overall because he's Roman Reigns. Right? Like, it's
the
just
best thing about sports. It's the best thing about wrestling is fantasy, right? And we just had an NFL draft last week. Shout out to JPJ and Parrish for dominating that.
Good on him.
But my point, I guess my point to that is like, it's fun to like reset, and it's fun to think. I'm trying to think. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on who was the first overall pick in the NFL draft. What's his name?
Trevor Lawrence. Wasn't it?
You.
There we
Trevor
go.
Lawrence. It's fun to think, okay, he's going to be a Jaguar. It's going to be awesome. Who's going to trade up to get him? Who's going to make the moves? So when you bring it to WWE draft, I get excited for it, but their presentation is bad because it's kind of convoluted. They have 2 nights, different draft pools, different rules, and they don't really explain it. But I love, breaking down a pick. Like, if we did an MLW draft preview, I'm all for that. And I love, when I do the GM mode, I always trade for as many first-round picks as I can get, because it signals a new era. It signals a new beginning. It's fresh matchups. It's a fresh start. And the way that MLW has presented themselves as a real sports presentation, I have no doubt that they're going to knock this one out of the park. So I'm looking forward to it.
Do you think that this has anything to do with any sort of potential WWE partnership? I personally will say no. I think it's too soon for them to be already moving to like a draft format with it. But like, there's there's too much smoke for there to be nothing there at this point. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm interested to see how that plays out. I don't know. The WWE MLW partnership sounds too good to be true, almost, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
I mean, crazier things in wrestling have happened, and I think the WWE has noticed that, you know, it's working for AEW, it's working for Impact and New Japan, and working together. It kind of reminds me of like the three big beer companies when Coors Light and Miller Lite are 2 and 3 to Anheuser-Busch. They just combined into one to make a super team to try to take down, you know, Budweiser. So it's kind of what I think's going on is like you see all these like, you know, 3, 4, 5 companies merging together and everybody's buzzing about it. And unfortunately, the WWE gets a lot of flack these days. So, hey, let's partner up with one of these up and coming promotions that, like you have said many times, is slept on by a lot of people. So having a draft and being able to say, hey, you know, we drafted this NXT guy. It may not even be somebody that's on TV right now, but having that option could be a lot of fun. So, I mean, we'll see what they do. It could also mean that, you know, there's a lot of free agents coming up right now that could be a good way to present them. Like, oh, we just drafted Andrade. Well, Andrade's an MLW. You know,
oh my God.
I mean, there's two ways to go about it. It either could be that way or the WWE tie-in. But yeah, I'm not sure if that would be too quick for a draft. You're right. You got me thinking now.
Well, that might be why Ryan Culp, friend of the show, is hopping in. Court Bauer is better than John Bauer. Look, okay, last week was a mistake, and it's not going to turn into my gimmick that I get names wrong.
Listen here, Ryan. Don't make me.
I'll even give you the big screen for that. I'll even give you the big screen.
Don't make me bust you out on air, Hornswoggle. We don't want the smoke, buddy.
And then the excellently named random person hopping in. How much money does MLW have for drafting talent? How will that work? Are we talking coming in for a match or two, or are we talking large influx of mainstay wrestlers? A lot of great questions. Like, again, and I think that those are completely valid questions if we're going to sit and talk about, like, a real sports presentation. Like, for me, draft would indicate long term. But, like, then completely right. Like, then the money does come into it. And I've got no idea. I can't even begin to comment, random person, which is going to be fun for me to say a couple of times, so bear with me. I honestly have no idea what financials look like for any wrestling promotion outside of WWE because they're publicly traded. So as far as MLW goes, I have no idea.
You draft based on buzz, though. I mean, even if you're bringing them in for a couple matches, you draft Brock Lesnar, you say, then it's like, is he here for every week? Is he not? You know what I mean? It's one of those things, too. It plays both ways.
Yeah, and it's such a bad way to put it because I always want to give definitive opinions on stuff like this, but I really can't. Like, I think you're going to get a mix of that. Like, not to big league anybody, but like Andrade to me maybe is like out of reach, but I again don't know what financials are for that sort of stuff, right? So he would be a great fit by every possible metric for MLW, especially as we'll talk about here in a couple of minutes, the Azteca Underground, the new temple, and the brand new, revised, I suppose, mind behind it to make a play on a popular show we have here on Love Wrestling. Lots of great stuff going on that. And I don't know, though. I would have to assume that at the very least coming out of this, I would hope that they're like in an hour program or maybe 2 weeks of it. Like we maybe get like 6 to 10 new people. How long they're there for, I've got no idea, but you'd hope to get half of them long term. That's spitballing. It's a shot in a prayer. If they were to bring in 10 new people, great, just on the fact that MLW, by my money, might be, I guess, like some of the best recruiters in pro wrestling, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, we talked about Gringo Loco earlier, but a lot of guys, like, I'd never heard of Jordan Oliver or Myron Reed. I wasn't that familiar with Alex Hammerstone or really any members of the dynasty outside of MJF before starting to watch MLW. I think they do a really great job of finding those aces in the hole, I guess is the best way to put it. Not hidden gems, because hidden gems implies people don't know how talented they are, but people who maybe just are understated, I suppose. Maybe not front of mind until they come to MLW. Like Hammerstone, again, outside of I knew he'd had a WWE tryout or was offered a contract. I knew nothing about him, nothing about his pro wrestling, and now you look at what he's done with MLW, right? I think he's a great example of that too. So I've rambled a bit. John, I'll let you take the floor. My thought is you're going to get at least 3 to 4 to 5 new full-time quote-unquote talents as far as the money goes. I'm not even going to claim to have an idea of how that works. Like you said, though, John, the Vice TV deal, I would have to assume would play into something like this and having a little bit of extra cash available. But like I said, I'm going to quit throwing stuff out there. I'm just going to get your thoughts.
I don't know how much money Vice has, but I'm assuming their pockets are probably deeper than Fusion. They run Fusion. MLW is really good. I'm trying to you threw a lot at me there. I'm trying to process. But no, MLW is really good about retooling, if you will. Because they, like you said, a lot of these aren't hidden gems. They're just understated. And then when they get this chance, like you said with Alexander Hamilton, great example earlier with the promo work. He was overshadowed by Holiday and MJF, but MLW has given him a platform to work on his promos. And now you're sitting here going, I can't believe that guy is not bigger. Sign someone else. And eventually he's going to be gone. So you have to start bringing in that next crop of talent. You need those next Myron Reeds and Jordan Olivers and those next guys to come up and start grooming them, because you're going to start losing the Richard Holidays, the Hammerstones, the Fatus eventually. So MLW has always been one of those shows that they bring in a great cast of, current talent and up and coming talent. So I have no doubt in my mind that in this draft, you're going to see a nice mix of, the next established star, plus they'll probably throw some curveball in there and some big signing, and it's going to get us talking, going, I wonder what that's all about. Is that going to be a weekly thing? Or are they just coming in for a few matches?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Only time will tell to end her off with a bit of a wrestling cliche. A great question, though, random person, and feel free to keep throwing them at us. We've got about 15, 20, half an hour, 2.5 hours. We don't know. We'll finish talking on this stream when we finish talking on this stream. But feel free to give us topics to talk about right here on Love Wrestling. John, that's a fancy-looking mug. Would you happen to potentially be able to tell us where you would have got it from?
No.
Well, if you can't, John, we've got you covered right there on the
CA or lovewrestling.ca/shop. I got it.
Absolutely.
On a beautifully designed website. It's reasonably priced. It holds a great sparkling water as well as your hot beverages, if that's what you're into. I had some tea in it earlier. It's great. I took it to Court Bauer's cookout this weekend.
Back off. I don't deserve this anymore. I don't deserve the shot. Lots of exciting stuff, though. I can't stress that enough. A draft, I'm just always excited about a draft unless it involves me going to war. That's really the best way I can put it. They also did touch on, if we're going to talk about Hammerstone, as we rightfully should, they did touch on the contractual stipulation that was revealed last week, in that Joseph Samael basically has a gatekeeper's clause, for lack of a better way to put it, as to who gets to challenge Fatu in the future. However, there is one exception: Battle Riot. Guaranteed title shot, championship opportunity. Put the strike through on that title shot phrasing right there. Sorry, Mr. McMahon. But the guaranteed championship opportunity coming to the winner of Battle Riot. So my hope is that Alex Hammerstone wins that, obviously, because it does seem to be the only way he'll get his hands on Jacob Fatu.
And he gets to keep the belt.
Championship.
And he gets to keep the belt. 2-belt Hammerstone, baby.
It's a champion.
I got to come up with a better Hammy two champs. I don't know. There's been so many that all the good ones are taken.
We'll throw that one to the chat. If you guys have any suggestions on what we will call Alex Hammerstone when he is holding 2 titles, let us know. We're happy to try and get a hashtag going. It's pretty silly sometimes how things can go viral. I got 1,600 likes on a tweet today that quite literally I woke up this morning, thought, this made me laugh. Let's send this thought to the world. And The vitriol? Is that how you say it? Like
The
when people are just vitriol. Thank you very much. The vitriol that was sent my way on social media because I made a joke about Daniel Bryan and Eva Marie today.
Hey, you're such
honestly
a
outstanding.
reputable journalist. I thought it was real. I was like, oh, is that backstage news?
You know me, hot scoop Spencer Love. Hammerstone cannot win the belt till he loses the belt. MLW doesn't have the roster currently for a dual champion. I really don't disagree with you on that. Like, they, not talent-wise, just size-wise, which is, again, I really hope this draft helps to rectify that. Just on that they have lost some talent over the last little bit. But like you alluded to earlier, John, like, they do a great job of retooling, reducing, reusing, recycling the 4Rs. Yeah, and that's completely fine. Stand by what you said. If you feel it's a bad idea, I am never going to begrudge an opinion. I certainly have been tainted on some drafts, as I mentioned earlier, by some other promotions. So I'm not as hot as I have been on drafts in the past, but I'm always going to be excited about them because, frankly, you won't find a lot that I'm not excited about in pro wrestling. And if there is, frick, I'm happy to tell you. Don't worry.
Pyrotechnics is one of them.
It's fireworks specifically, and like pyro, okay, pyro is acceptable. If fireworks are adding to something, okay, but like, to be honest, fireworks have never added to anything. Fireworks add to me having to speak louder to continue a conversation I was pleasantly having before shit started exploding in the sky. You know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen when the aliens attack, John? People are going to look and be like, oh, pretty, and then we're screwed as a human race. So fireworks, bad idea all around.
Fireworks rant. That's my favorite thing about Love Wrestling.
Well, I'm sure there will be at least a few. Richard Holiday in what can only be described as a El Squasho this evening versus Ariel Dominguez, who weighed in at an astounding 139 pounds. Which the note I had is, okay, yeah, you hear that and you understand that my next comment is going to be a little bit based in recency bias, excuse me. But like, Richard Holiday is like a picture perfect professional wrestler. In like the comparison that I make, and they're two wildly different pro wrestlers stylistically, to use a dickish phrase for it. But like, it's like Randy Orton. You look at that guy, you could walk by that guy in the street and be like, yeah, he's a pro wrestler. He's absolutely a pro wrestler. A minute and 36 to put Dominguez away with the 2008. My final note on the match, I just really, really, really like Richard Holiday.
Dude, yeah, I tweeted, when the most markables on my screen, it's always a good time. Richard Holiday, like, he's one of those guys that I think MLW has helped his stock immensely, and he'll be somewhere if he wants to be. I know he's gone on record as saying he's happy where he's at, but I think everybody says that. It's one of those like NFL cliches.
Except for Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, right. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is the only person who's... Aaron Rodgers is the only Green Bay quarterback who's been unsatisfied late in his career.
Right. No, but he's earned that. He can say, I don't want to be anywhere, and that's fine. But with Richard Holiday...
Did you seriously just hop in the comments yourself? Oh...
I know, it's cringe, but I had to my name was just dragged through the mud.
It's being besmirched. I understand.
I defend the honor that is my family, the Bowers, Court John.
We're the Bowers and the Hockey Stick Company founder.
I wish that would be dope. But back to Richard Holiday. It's not.
Welcome back to our MLW recap.
It's not a stream. I mean, it's not a stream if we don't go off the rails a little bit and I do something that, you know.
No, of course not.
I don't know.
Somebody just said they were blocking me for that Daniel Bryan tweet, and then they blocked me, which is hilarious. Good on them. Stick by what you say. Sorry, you were defending your family's honor.
Defending my family's honor. Richard Holiday, $1 million, that dude. And he squashed a dude that I'm like literally 3 times his size. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe I need to get with our sponsor and get some workout in. But he's it was what it was. I will say the Caribbean Championship you're not a fan of because it's a regional title. So what do you feel about that?
There's exceptions to every rule. See, and it's not like I don't like regional titles. It's just I prefer, especially in, like I said, like this sports presented professional wrestling promotion. Like the weight classes do add to that, I think. So I'll revise. Like I don't by any means dislike any sort of, especially with like the IC. You're defending that across continents. But like you're having a United States Championship match in Estonia. Well, that would make it an Intercontinental Championship because you're wrestling for it in other continents. Right?
Yeah. That's
like
fair.
I love the name, but the Saskatchewan International Hardcore Championship was defended outside of Saskatchewan and therefore is still the most awesome championship of all time. Swerved, yeah. Going back to it, after the match, Alicia Atout comes out onto the stage and begins an interview with Richard Holiday that, let me tell you, I stood up to go and grab a beverage, and I had to sit back down because Gino Medina was out there quicker than a hiccup, and they started just hitting each other. The only other note I have here, I wasn't fired, I was laid off, but you wouldn't know the difference.
That's always a great line when somebody.
It'll never not happen. It never won't. It's like when people say I'm back, I won't ever hear it without mentally going, and better than ever, like it's just one of those almost like trigger phrases. Anytime I hear about someone yelling about not getting fired, it goes back to Step Brothers 11 out of 10 times.
I mean, absolutely. I'm for this matchup. I want to see this thing happen.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think Medina's the guy that takes the belt off Richard Holiday. I really do. I think he pull the trigger.
I wouldn't be shocked or upset.
Opens up Holiday for some other things. I know you don't see a lot of him and Hammerstone interacting these days, so eventually maybe there's some wiggle room there for sure. That's what I gathered out of this.
Oh yeah, and for me, like I love the Dynasty. Like you said, though, they haven't been interacting a ton. If Holiday's going to lose a championship, it should be to be the guy stepping into the heavyweight championship run. Like again, that guy is
on that roster
incredible.
Right now. Who there's not a whole lot of people you can picture that could step up to Hammerstone and look the part. There's a few.
No. Well, and like you could do like Filthy Tom Lawler. I'll always advocate for because the guy's the shit. But he's already been a heavyweight champion. Like, for lack of a better explanation, I guess, like he's done it all in MLW, right? He can just go on and do what he wants.
And he smells like piss.
It's not gonna ever not be referenced. The nice thing is that we've got a draft show coming up, which I highly doubt will be any urine-related incidents at that either. So eventually it'll start to slow down. After that, we got our second Stephen New commercial of the evening, which push Stephen New. No issue on that end. That's all I got to say. Then we've got the rankings. And the rankings are always fun for me because I always like to go through and give fun nicknames as we go through them. So in order from 10 to 1, at 10, we've got Gino Funky Cold Medina. Number 9, we've got Ross the Boss Von Erich. 8, Calvin and Hobbs Tankman. Myron Lou Reed coming in at number 7. Mill, I'm too scared of you to give you a nickname, Huertes. Richard, Madonna's first number 1 single in the United States, Holiday. Girls Don't Go Away, Mads Kruger. Leo, Neil Peart of Rush. Filthy Tom Lawler. And then Alexander, Alex Hammerstone. I think all of those are fairly appropriate as far as it goes. So there are your rankings for the week to close out this season of MLW. I would have to assume those won't change whatsoever, but
I think you're wrong.
Over the break, quote unquote, like
didn't somebody just win a title that would shoot up said rankings?
See, and that's true. That's completely fair, but the only reason I might say no to that is Leo Rush wasn't included in the rankings at all, and I admittedly just don't remember if he has been previously.
He was,
but I would at least he was okay. Then your point.
He was number 3. It was.
See, you're just completely right then. There's no justification where I can justify my slight wrongness. You're just completely right. It should. So how they address that on the draft, that's a great point. I was going to say that I don't know how you do it when you're in your proverbial off season, but good call. Like, and again, using the real sports, it's not like the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the Stanley Cup had them at everyone's number one, right? Like your power rankings are going to fluctuate even in an off season.
As soon as the championship is won, they put out the way too early rankings all the time. So maybe that's what they do online or something. They show our off-season top 10 for next season. Speaking of which, I don't watch MLW as often as you. I am now watching it consistently off-season. So I'm confused as to when they say there's an off-season, but then they got a show on Saturday. And that's not the new season. The new season is the ECW Arena show.
Now, I fully have to admit, I didn't catch the debut on Vice. I don't think that they're airing new episodes. Like the clip or at least the one like screenshot I guess I saw on social media, not even a clip. It was Alicia Toot backstage interviewing the new Heart Foundation. So I don't know where the starting point for it is. I don't think they're airing brand new episodes. What my assumption is that they're going to air episodes on Vice up until they're basically caught up over the next little bit. And then I think it's June 23rd, but I also think I'm confused. No, June 10th, I think. If I remember correctly. June, July. Shit, I should Google this. John, I'm going to let you have the floor. Just tell me about your day, I guess, as I Google MLW return date. Tell me about your day. How was your day today?
With my hands. Oh, I don't know if we want to talk about my day today. I think I'd get kicked off the air. But
no,
I'm here. All right. Why don't we? I know this is an MLW show, but I got the floor, so we'll talk about Eva Marie and how amazing it is that she's back. And haters are gonna hate, but Daniel Bryan, just like my guy Charlie Conway in D2, gave up his spot on the roster.
We're never going to have a better reference on this show.
We're never going
to have a better reference on this show, John. Congratulations.
He said,
send me your,
and I quote, I always said I'd make a better coach than a player. Give Banks my spot. That was Daniel Bryan saying, I'm always going to be a better coach than player. Give Eva Marie my spot. And you know what? DB, respect. Now back to
big news. If we didn't have big news to talk about, I'd end the stream right now because that's just a good ending point. It's a very good ending point. So it is July 10th in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. And
that would have been awkward on June 10th, us sitting here trying to wait for the MLW show to start.
Hey, am I in the right StreamYard room? I wasn't last week, and I'm not anymore.
Every time. I still haven't figured this thing out. I was like...
And there's a 30% chance that it's already raining. But let's touch on the couple little things, and the one big thing before we close it out. Of course, we got the rankings. We talked about the Von Erichs promo, which is where I am and where I need to scroll. So let's get to our main event. Myron Reed, your new MLW middleweight champion, a hell of an individual, a heck of a wrestling match. Very different was what I sort of took away from this in comparison to their first match. Like the first match, I guess, is just to use the broadest terms possible, not to like simplify how good these both were. But your first match between these two was like your cruiserweight match. They were all over the ring. They were flip-flopping, flying, for lack of a better way to put it. This was what you would see, or this is what you would sort of expect when you hear, okay, we've got two guys going for a middleweight, cruiserweight, quote-unquote championship. This match for me was really cool in the sense that it for the most part, completely pivoted from that. And it was a very methodical match. It was a very thought-out match, and not like a pre-planned thought-out, but like a very... every move meant something. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell when they were trying to lay into people and they were thinking about their next move, they wanted to make their next move hurt. Right? So, definitely two different matches. I would fully expect there to be a third, and let me tell you, I'm just as excited for that one as I was for the first two. But let me know your thoughts. Let me pick your brain on it a little bit. What did you think of
let me
Reed v. Rush?
let me find my Mighty Ducks references to tie this all together. No,
You can use any 90s show. You want to throw some Gargoyles references at me? I'm always down for them, buddy.
So this match, as I am gearing up for it, I've been looking forward to it all week. I was excited to get to do this stream. As I said last week, I can't wait to talk about it. They easily, and I had it in my head, I was like, this is just going to be a spot fest, right? It's going to be 15 minutes of them just pulling out all the stops. And they didn't do that. To their credit, they slowed it down to a point where I looked up and I was like, we're 5 minutes into this and I haven't seen anything great. It was kind of like they knew what each other was going to do. So they kind of just was like, let's feel each other out. And was it as great as the first match? That's debatable, right? It's up to you. It's all circumstantial in that. But every sequel, except for D2, is not as good as the first. I'm just kidding. No, I really.
Hey, Shrek 2 is a banger too. All right.
Sister Act 2 is the greatest sequel of all time. Fact. But no.
Well, it was a very good sequel. I disagree.
In terms of from first to second, anyway, it was a good slowdown. Like you said, it was more of a slugfest. It was more of the MLW style than the first one, I thought personally. Yeah. And I kind of liked I'm trying to remember what the tweet was. I was kind of following both of them on Twitter, and Lio Rush or Myron, one of the two, took offense to somebody being like, oh, this is, just some, lower like level title type, middle of the card type match. And I think they wanted to show like we can work a main event style, we can work a heavyweight style just because we're smaller. And but was it for everybody? I'm not sure, but I dug it. I mean, you can't go wrong with Myron Reed and Lio Rush in any capacity.
Oh no,
they put on and I loved that Injustice stayed in the back till the end. I love this Myron Reed, right? And I don't think I've made any bones about it to anybody follows me on Twitter. Cheap plug there. But I mean, this baby face, it's passionate. There's more to it than his heel run, which, like I said last week, usually the heel run has more layers to it. But this baby face young goat thing has a lot of layers. I think he's just tapping into that potential, and putting the belt on him and being the first only 2-time champ. That says a lot about how MLW feels about Myron.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with you as well, random person. There needs to be a third. It was a much slower pace than I thought it would be. Bring on the third. And John, you alluded to it a little bit earlier there, and like maybe disappointment. I don't know if that'd be the word that I would use, but like I understand. Like for me, the reason that I loved this match was because it was completely different from what I expected. Right. And that for me is something I cherish and love in professional wrestling, is like when I get a match where, again, I expected it to be, almost a step up on intensity from what they did in the first one. Like you see with a lot of matches, is just do what you did in the first, but, do it bigger. They completely flipped the script in this one. And I love moments like that. I can also understand where people who were expecting like that high flying, typical middleweight, cruiserweight action, I can understand how they wouldn't like this match just based on, again, that preconceived expectation, which, again, you can't ever fault anyone for, right? Like if somebody's got an opinion on pro wrestling, best way to put it is don't be a dick about it. And I'm always cool to chat pro wrestling, right? But like that was what I loved the most about this match, was that it was so wildly different. And now I'm incredibly excited, like you are as well, Mr. Random Person. Good to see you. Or Mrs. or non-binary. I should also make sure I'm inclusive there too. You're just a random person, not a random.
Oh, go ahead. Random person.
No worries. I was just agreeing with them. Because what I think I'm most excited for now is that I really don't know what to expect other than it'll be a really good match. I thought this was going to be a really great cruiserweight match tonight. Again, using the air quotes with it. I'm just excited for a really great wrestling match overall. So sorry, I cut you off there a little bit, so feel free to take the floor, friend.
No, all I was gonna say is I'm very intrigued in what happens with Lio Rush. I mean, now he's titleless. That frees him up to do a few other things that maybe he's seen to do. I wonder if they're going to keep him around in MLW. I'd love to see this again. I think I think it's the perfect, like you said, you give everybody what they want the first time, you get them coming back, but then you throw something different at them. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. That if it would have been the predictable same match, we probably would have hated it a lot more, right? Like, oh, this is the same match we just saw. Great. So now the third match, you combine the two, maybe throw a stipulation on it, really cement Myron Reed as your face, one of your faces in MLW. And I mean, Leo Rush, I hope he sticks around, but that guy's got options for sure.
Oh yeah, whether it's wrestling or otherwise, like it's always cool for me when he comes out. I get the same feeling with Joe Hendry. Like when they're coming out to music that they wrote. Jericho, I guess, is the other very obvious example.
Myron Reed is also a rapper, and I'm surprised they didn't mention it. I just bought his album that comes out tomorrow or Saturday. So Bangers Forever 2. Keep an eye on me on Twitter. I'm going to be banging that pretty soon. Hopefully, it'll be here this week. But yeah, so I'm surprised you bring that up.
Just spitballing here. I'll hop on and do an album review with you, track by track.
I've been tossing around doing some review videos on some stuff, and what a perfect one to do would be an album that a wrestler wrote. I'm game.
Let's chat on that one. The other one we can do is Shaq's album if we're going to talk about wrestlers who have done rap.
Yes.
Myron Reed. Let's finish this quick part off because we've got about 8 minutes left here on the show, and I feel like we'll use a good portion of those chatting about what happened in our main event tonight. Main event segment, I suppose. Myron Reed, like we said, winning with the Captain Crunch, Air Raid Crash, and the No Cap 450 Splash, your new Cruiserweight champion. And it looked like it was done from there, but we got about a 2.5 minute vignette at the end there that was titillating. I'm so very excited.
But of course, oddly placed. I was so confused. I almost shut the stream off, and then I was like,
well, and I agree. I wish they would have done some sort of lead-in into it, even if it was just like Saint Laurent saying, and here's the shocking conclusion to the Zelina Vegas, or Zelina.
Yeah.
1,000 pardons, because those are two very talented individuals, but damn it, I should not be confusing them. 1,000 pardons on that one. Selena De La Renta, who has obviously been a huge part of MLW over the last little bit, has been kidnapped, taken, called at the behest, I suppose, of El Jefe, who is the mysterious mind behind Azteca Underground, which has really been one of the prominent premier storylines going on in MLW over about the last 8 months. October was the return. 8 months? 8 months. We'll go with 8. So we got tonight the shocking reveal of El Jefe. And who else do we see? John, do you want to reveal? Do you want to reveal it?
I don't know what his name is.
Oh! Dario Cueto, the owner, I guess, the authority figure. I hate that phrase because so many people hear the phrase authority figure and it's just like automatically written off. So we'll go with owner / mind behind, again, for my cheap plug.
I'm looking for some hide in here, but I see the face. I recognize the face vaguely, and I'm watching the comments, and everybody says Dario, and I'm trying to piece it together. So before the stream started, of course, I'm like, who is this guy? Lucha Underground.
And he also in the last season,
I didn't watch a whole lot of that.
Well, and shit, like, I don't know how it is for you guys in the States, but it's not on Netflix up here anymore. There's not really a ton of access to it at all. So, like, it's been 3 years, 4 years, right? Like, it's been a long time since it was on the air. So, either way, and he did also play his dad in the last season, if I remember correctly, or something along those lines. Lucha Underground was wild, man. But not only do we get him, we get the announcement that he is building a new temple, which, of course, everybody who has watched Lucha Underground, even if your memory may be as foggy as mine and John's may be, will, of course, remember the Lucha Underground temple. Just a cool-ass venue for a professional wrestling show. Yeah. You and I talk again about it a lot. Like, I've got so much time for the supernatural and pro wrestling. It was just fantastic. It's just fantastic. There's really no other way to put it. So, obviously, a huge, fantastic, major, wonderful, terrific tease to close out tonight's episode of MLW Fusion.
Yeah, it could be a fun.
With the Azteca logo.
It could be a lot of fun to like play off, like, you know, kind of. This might be like apples and oranges comparison, but the whole like WCW NWO thing where there's two companies, taking over the show. And I mean, I remember the Temple, like you said, because I have seen a couple episodes of Lucha Underground, and it was a lot of fun. It's one of those things that by the time I realized what it was gone. And then it was on Netflix. It wasn't anymore. But no, it's got me think it's going to have a lot of interesting cliffhangers for a season finale. And I can't wait to. Do you want to say hi, buddy?
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you. The surprise running.
Yeah, surprise running by my son there. He just popped in, and I was like, "Hey, buddy." So yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see where they go with it, and the way the comment section was blowing up there, I think it's going to be a good thing. That's all I got because I don't know anything else about that guy.
Well, and that is the nice thing is it was very much just a tease. The only real information, like I said, that we got was that they are building a new temple and that sacrifices had to be made. So which way that one's going to go, I cannot even begin to speculate. Hopefully everybody's safe.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's
maybe
all I've got to say about
Andrade's in an MLW now. Maybe they sacrificed some money in their budget for Andrade.
Well, we may find out next week when the draft begins. We may find out on July 10th when MLW's brand new season begins. But in the meantime, in the in-between time, damn it, do I love me some Ed Whelan. In the meantime and the in-between time, damn it, do I love me some Ed Whelan. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Love Wrestling Reacts. What will likely be the final Love Wrestling Reacts, at the very least, for MLW until the new season. But John, you and I, we floated a couple of good ideas as far as a draft preview, as far as an album review. So stay tuned, friends, because whether it's that specific content or whether it's anything else that we chat about and bring to your screens, whether computer or otherwise, we will be continuing to bring MLW to you in the near future right here on Love Wrestling. So, John, before you get to plugging that stuff, you plug where people can keep track of you, my friend, because not only are you an enjoyable individual to chat with right here on the stream and in the comment section, but you're a good guy to follow. You're an enjoyable follow and someone I like to do so for. The screen is yours. Let us know where the people can keep track of you.
I try. You guys can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Wrestling Plug Inc. You can find me here at Love Wrestling contributing, and apparently you can find my bunny. Hi, Oliver. Hello, Oliver. You can find me, like I said, on all those awesome platforms. You can find me here on Love Wrestling doing our thing. We've got a few things in the works, so stay tuned.
Absolutely, friends. I wanted to give a last glimpse of that Sunday brunch mug, as we mentioned earlier in the show, just because we had a convenient chance to plug it, so we won't do it for a while here. Head to lovewrestling.ca/shop. Not only can you get that mug, but we've got our brand new Love Wrestling collaboration shirt with Sea of Dead heading your way and starting to ship tomorrow to all of you who have pre-ordered. If you guys tuned in on Twitch today, then you guys have already supported us in the way that I am going to ask you guys to do so. But if you tuned in on YouTube, you guys tuned in on Facebook Live, twitch.tv/Love Wrestling CA. Our goal this week was to hit 325 followers. It is Wednesday, my dudes, and we have already hit 321. So feel free to give us some love there. Feel free to give us some on YouTube, where I am just casually going to mention that that's where we hit 321 followers and would like to hit 325. Twitch, we are aiming for 120 and we hit 111 today. So please continue to support us there as I continue to try and just be smarter, to be honest with you, on a lot of the things that I bring up here sometimes. Screwed that one up. Hopefully I don't mess this one up. If you want to support us on ratethispodcast.com/Love Wrestling CA, not only can you get audio of each and every interview, each and every podcast, each and every recap that we do here, but if you support us there, you can help lift us into the top 10 Canadian podcasts. It's a goal of ours. We're hoping to hit it. So show us some support there. And the last thing that I am going to do is let all of you cool cats and kittens on Twitch know that we are going to be rating our friend Ditz in 10 seconds here. If you guys are tuned in on Facebook or YouTube, we are going to be taking off. John, I'm hitting the music. We will see you guys on the other side, whether on Ditz's channel or another edition of Love Wrestling Reacts in the future. We'll see you soon.